All right, let's dive into this Europa League matchup. Anderlecht versus FC Porto. It's this Thursday at Lotto Park. And, on the surface, it looks like a pretty straightforward match, but we, at Tipsmodo, we see some things that make this one a lot more interesting than it might seem.
Yeah, I mean, Anderlecht are definitely the favorites right now. They are undefeated in the Europa League, and they're coming off just a crazy offensive explosion in the Belgian Pro League.
11 goals in their last 2 games.
11 goals. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
That's more than a hot streak. That's just like a full-on
Yeah,
inferno.
totally. And Kasper Goldberg, he's been the main man, 5 goals in those 2 matches.
Wow.
So he's on fire.
He is, for sure.
But here's the thing. Porto have never scored at Lotto Park, ever.
Really?
In their whole history against Anderlecht, they have never gotten a goal.
Wow.
At that stadium.
You got to think that messes with you a little bit, right? Like you're stepping onto the pitch and you got this like weird scoreless curse hanging over you.
It's got to be a factor, maybe subconsciously. But our analysis here at Tipsmodo, I think what's even more interesting is how Porto's tactical setup might actually play into Anderlecht's hands.
Okay.
Porto's fullbacks, they tend to push really high up the pitch, which leaves space in behind for those fast wingers to exploit. And Anderlecht, they've got 2 of the fastest wingers in the league.
Ooh, that's a recipe for disaster right there. Especially with an attack as potent as Anderlecht's. Like you give them any space at all, they're going to make you pay.
Exactly. And Porto, they've got some serious attacking threats themselves. Galeno, Evan Nelson, those guys can score goals, but they're going to have to be so disciplined at the back.
So we got a red-hot attack going up against a defense that might be a little susceptible to their style of play. Plus this historical anomaly of Porto never scoring at Lotto Park. I can see why our supercomputer is leaning towards an Anderlecht win, even if it's predicting a close 2-1 scoreline.
Yeah, that's right. The supercomputer is looking at all of these factors, not just recent form, but, historical data, tactical matchups, even things like player fatigue, likely substitutions. All of that is factored in to try to generate the most accurate prediction possible.
It's amazing what technology can do these days. All right, so we've got Anderlecht with the home advantage, Porto trying to overcome this historical curse, a clash of styles that could lead to some fireworks on the pitch. I don't know about you, but I'm getting pretty hyped for this one.
Yeah, me too. This is going to be a good one.
All right, so let's break this down even further. What are some of the key things that we at Tipsmodo are looking at to really try to understand how this match might unfold?
Well, I think we got to start with the mental side of things, right? This scoreless streak for Porto.
Yeah.
It's got to be weighing on them at least a little bit. And on the other side, Anderlecht, they're full of confidence. So how does that psychological factor play out? That's a big question.
It is for sure. And we've seen teams crumble under pressure before, but we've also seen teams rise to the occasion.
Absolutely.
Right.
So that's one thing to watch, for sure.
Okay, so what else are we thinking about?
Well, tactically, this is going to be really interesting. Like we were talking about before, Porto likes to push their fullbacks high,
Right.
which can leave them vulnerable on the counterattack. And Anderlecht, they've got the speed and the skill to exploit that.
Yeah, they've got those wingers who can just burn past defenders. And if they can get in behind that Porto defense, they're going to have some golden opportunities to score.
For sure. And then on the other side, you've got Porto's attack. They've got a lot of creativity in midfield with guys like Otavio and Fabio Vieira. And they've got some real firepower up front with Taremi and Evan Nelson.
All right, so it's a classic clash of styles. Anderlecht looking to hit on the counter, and Porto trying to control possession and create chances through their midfield.
Exactly. And, that makes it really hard to predict which style is going to prevail on the night.
It does, and that's why we love football, right?
Absolutely. It's the unpredictability that makes it so exciting.
All right, so we've got the mental game, we've got the tactical battle, but what about the individual players?
Yeah, let's dive into that.
Who are some of the key players to watch in this matchup?
Well, on the Anderlecht side, you got to start with Dolberg, right? He's been on fire lately, as we've already said, but he's also a really complete striker. He can score goals, he can hold up the ball, he can bring his teammates into play. He's a real handful for defenders.
He is. He's got the potential to be a world-class striker.
Yeah, and then you've also got guys like Verscharen and Amuzu on the wings. Those guys are lightning quick, and they can really cause problems for defenses.
Okay, so Anderlecht, they've got a lot of attacking threats.
They do, for sure.
What about Porto?
Well, for Porto, I think you got to keep an eye on Galeno. He's a really tricky winger. He's got great pace, great dribbling skills, and he can create something out of nothing.
Right. He's the kind of player who can just turn a game on its head with a moment of brilliance.
Absolutely. And then in midfield, you've got Fabio Vieira. He's a really talented young player. He's got great vision, great passing range. And he's got a knack for scoring goals as well.
Okay, so Porto, they've got some danger men of their own.
They do, and that's what makes this matchup so intriguing. It's a clash of styles, it's a battle of individual talents, and it's a game that could really go either way.
It could, and that's why it's so important to do your research.
Yeah.
And that's where Tixmodo comes in.
Right. We're here to provide you with all the information you need to make informed decisions.
We've got the data, we've got the analysis, and we've got the expert insights to help you understand this match inside and out.
So if you're thinking about placing a bet, or if you just want to impress your friends with your football knowledge, make sure you check out Tipsmodo before kickoff.
All right, so we've got a lot to look forward to in this match. A clash of styles, a historical curse waiting to be broken, and some truly world-class players on display.
It's going to be a good one.
It is. And we at Tipsmodo, we're here to help you make the most of it. So stay tuned for more in-depth analysis and predictions as we get closer to kickoff.
We'll be back soon with more.
Until then, enjoy the beautiful game.
See you then. It really is. And that's what makes this match so fascinating, It's not just who's playing better right now. It's about how these different factors all come together on the pitch,
Yeah.
The psychological pressure, the tactical nuances, the historical context.
Right, exactly. You got Anderlecht. They're riding high on confidence. They want to secure that direct spot in the knockout stages. And then you have Porto, who are trying to turn their tide. They are desperate to prove that they can break this curse at Lotto Park and get their season back on track.
Absolutely. And that's where things get really interesting for, people who like to have a little action on the match.
Well, yeah.
Because while our supercomputer, gives the edge to Anderlecht, that 2-1 scoreline, it suggests that this is going to be close. It might even be a chance for Porto to finally break that Lotto Park drought.
Okay, so for someone who is thinking about placing a bet on this match, what are some of the key factors that they should be considering? What's the smart money on this?
Well, first things first, they should head over to tipsmodo.com. We've got all the latest odds, in-depth analysis, data-driven betting tips to help you make informed decisions.
Exactly. We don't just throw out random predictions here at Tipsmodo. We break down the data, the trends, the team news, everything that you need to bet smart. But to give you a little taste of what we're looking at, Anderlecht's home form is incredibly strong, and that goal-scoring spree is hard to ignore. So a bet on Anderlecht to win, maybe even with a -1 handicap, it might seem like a safe choice.
It might seem safe, but that's where, digging a little deeper with Tipsmodo really pays off.
Yeah.
Because Porto's form overall, it's been shaky, but their attack is still very potent. They've got players who can create something out of nothing. And in a high-pressure match like this, sometimes that individual brilliance can be the difference maker.
So maybe a bet on both teams to score could be a good option, especially if you're anticipating a more open and attacking game, which seems likely given the tactical setups that we've been talking about.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. And for those who are feeling adventurous, a correct score bet could be tempting. Our supercomputer is predicting that 2-1 Anderlecht win. But as we all know, anything can happen in football.
That's the beauty of it.
Exactly. And we've got the tools and insights to help you make the most informed decision.
Right, so whether you're a seasoned bettor or you're just starting out, make sure to check out Tipsmodo before placing any wagers on this Europa League showdown. We're here to help you turn this Thursday night into a winning one.
Absolutely. We want to empower our users to make the smartest bets possible. And who knows, maybe we'll see history made with a Porto win at Lotto Park.
Or maybe Anderlecht will continue their dominance. Either way, it's shaping up to be a must-watch match. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about some of the individual players to watch in this game. On the Anderlecht side, we've got Anderlecht riding this wave of momentum and confidence. We've got Porto trying to slay this historical dragon at Lotto Park. It's a clash of styles. There are huge stakes. What's not to love about this matchup?
It's a recipe for drama, that's for sure. And like we always say at Tipsmodo, the more you know, the more exciting it gets.
Exactly. You've heard us break it all down, the tactics, the history, the potential matchups. You've even gotten a sneak peek at what our supercomputer is predicting. But if you really want to take that deep dive and get the full picture, you got to come hang out with us on Tipsmodo's social media.
Yeah, that's where all the magic happens. In-depth analysis, data-driven predictions. We've got a whole community of passionate football fans who live and breathe this beautiful game.
We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're everywhere you get your social media fix. And we're not just posting updates. We're engaging with our followers, we're answering questions, we're giving you insights you won't find anywhere else.
So don't just watch the match, experience it with Tipsmodo. Get all the expert betting tips, the match analysis, the pregame insights. Make this Europa League night a winning one.
Will we see Porto finally break their Lotto Park curse? Or will Anderlecht just continue to dominate? Tune in this Thursday to find out. But before you do, make sure you're following Tipsmodo on all your favorite social media platforms. Trust me, you don't want to miss out.
We'll see you there.